What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review AEW Rampage from September 3rd, 2021, coming to us from the home of All Out tomorrow night at the Now Arena in Chicago, Illinois. What are my overall thoughts on this show? I thought this show was really good. Of course, this is the go-home Rampage for All Out, which is happening tomorrow night on pay-per-view. All Out is looking to be by far not only AEW's biggest pay-per-view of the year, but their biggest pay-per-view in company history in their 2-year existence. It's going to be a huge show tomorrow. Of course, we got CM Punk wrestling for the first time in 7 years going up against Darby Allin. That match has to close the show. I'd be extremely disappointed if it doesn't, but I guarantee you I will put my faith in AEW. They're definitely going to put that match last. We got also a lot of surprises possibly happening. Of course, we got the surprise opponent for Andrade tomorrow night. I assume it's probably either going to be a Bryan Danielson or an Andrade. Ruby Soho is most likely going to be making her debut as well in AEW in the Women's Casino Battle Royale. But there's a lot of stuff happening tomorrow night. I'm excited. I know you are. But let's get on with the Rampage review. Of course, like I said earlier, Rampage took place in Chicago. AEW's in Chicago all week this week, of course, because All Out is their big show, their big pay-per-view, and it's going to be epic, in my opinion. It's going to be an absolutely awesome show. But with Rampage, what was the first match on Rampage? The first match of the evening was Malakai Black going up against Lee Johnson of the Nightmare Family. Overall thoughts on this match, I thought this was a really good match to open up Rampage. Let's take a moment to appreciate Malakai Black's entrance. And I, for one, enjoyed his entrance in the WWE. I thought his entrance in the WWE was absolutely awesome. I was extremely angry because of the fact that he was one of the people that got cut, because of the fact that Malakai Black, or Aleister Black, as what he used to be called, this guy was a star in the making. This guy should have been the face of the company. This guy should have been WWE champion. This guy should have been the main event of WrestleMania, but that did not happen. Of course, he's in AEW now, Tommy End, a.k.a. Malakai Black. They're booking him really well, and this match absolutely proves it. This match basically made Malakai Black into a killer. If you didn't watch the match he had with Cody Rhodes, this guy murdered Cody Rhodes, and then he murdered guys like Brock Anderson. Look what he did to Lee Johnson. And Lee Johnson actually got offense in this match. But let's take a moment to appreciate Malakai Black's entrance. I thought Malakai Black's entrance looked amazing, in my opinion. Like, it just looks great. The way it's shot, badass, in my opinion. Just absolutely badass. But what happened in the match and what happened that made this match really be booked so well, if that's a sentence. But what made this match really good? I'll explain it. So the match starts. There was a lot of stalling going on in the beginning of the match. Of course, you had Black intimidating Lee Johnson. We get a side headlock by Lee. Of course, Malakai breaks out. We get a back elbow by Lee Johnson. Malakai is working on Lee into the corner. We get a kick by Lee, then a back elbow by Malakai. Malakai Black is working on Lee during the break. Once we're back from break, Lee begins to fight back. We get a knee by Malakai. We get a drop kick by Lee Johnson after that. Then he hits a Tumpe Suicida, a.k.a. the suicide dive, on Malakai on the outside as well. Then we get repeated rights by Lee Johnson. He goes to the top. Then Lee Johnson proceeds to hit the frog splash, which looked awesome, by the way. We get a couple of waistlock switches by both Malakai Black and Lee Johnson. Malakai Black with a devastating running kick, which looked nasty as hell. We get a running boot by Black in the corner. We get repeated strikes by Black, of course. He has that experience. Malakai Black then takes out the chair, and this was the part that really made me enjoy this match, and really, I thought the booking of this match worked tremendously well. The fact that he takes out the chair, and this is how you book a heel extremely strong, in my opinion. He takes out the chair. He offers the chair to Lee Johnson. Not only that, he offers the chair. Lee Johnson actually gets up with the chair. Malakai Black is like, hit me with the freaking chair. What happens? Instead of Lee Johnson hitting Malakai Black with the chair, he instead hits the Black Mask, a.k.a. the spinning heel kick. 1, 2, 3. Malakai Black beats Lee Johnson in the opener of this week's AEW Rampage. Overall thoughts on this match. Again, this match was booked extremely well. This is exactly how you should book Malakai Black. You should book him extremely strong, because I do believe that AEW has a lot of high hopes when it comes to Malakai Black, and I think that Malakai Black is definitely going to make money for these people, especially what we saw in the entrance and what we saw in this match. I mean, I feel like AEW has a lot of big plans for Malakai Black, so I'm really excited to see what goes down in the future for Malakai Black. But after the match, of course, we got Dustin Rhodes coming in to the aid of Lee Johnson. Of course, Malakai Black retreats. But yeah, I mean, that was the opener for Rampage. I thought this was a really good opener. Again, this is the way that AEW is going to be booking Malakai Black's future matches in the next couple of months, until we eventually get a rematch with Cody Rhodes in the future, because I believe Cody Rhodes right now is filming the second season of Go Big Show, so I assume he's going to be coming back at some point. Maybe we're going to be getting a rematch, not on a Dynamite, but on the next pay-per-view, of course, happening in November at Full Gear. So what's going to happen, I do not know, but I'm really excited to see what happens when it comes to Malakai Black. It's going to be awesome to see what goes down, in my opinion. After this, Mark Henry interviews Dustin Rhodes. Of course, Dustin Rhodes cuts a promo basically on Malakai Black and says that this Wednesday on Dynamite, he's going to be challenging Malakai Black in a match on Dynamite this Wednesday. So it's going to be Malakai Black versus Dustin Rhodes this Wednesday on Dynamite. I'm excited to see what goes down as well. Of course, we all know who's going to be winning this match. Malakai Black is, of course, going to be going over. He's not losing anytime soon, in my opinion. He's not losing anytime soon, and I feel like this is going to be a scenario in which the Nightmare Family, he's just going to murder the Nightmare Family just piece by piece until Cody Rhodes comes back, and maybe, who knows, Malakai Black could even beat Cody Rhodes again, or Cody Rhodes could just get the win back. But even if Cody Rhodes gets the win back, it would still make Malakai Black look strong, considering the fact that Malakai Black, he can definitely put maybe 20 minutes in a match with Cody Rhodes. I definitely believe that. And I think if they eventually have a rematch, I believe that the rematch is going to be happening at Full Gear. We do not know, but what's going on with Malakai Black, I think it's really good, and I'm definitely excited to see a potential rematch with Malakai Black and Cody Rhodes. We got a segment with Miro. Of course, he cuts a promo on Eddie Kingston, says he calls himself a Mad King, says he has been blessed throughout his life with struggle, and says that he says that Eddie Kingston took a charity contract with AEW, says that he's not in the charity business, so as his dog, says that he is soft, that being Eddie Kingston, without struggles, and calls him the bad boy of Jon Moxley. So that kind of got a weird reaction from the crowd right there. Then Eddie Kingston comes out and says that he says bullshit to God's favorite champion. Says he basically goes after Miro verbally, talks about how your God is just full of crap and all that stuff. Continues to go on verbally, and then Miro basically says, come to the ring and talk to me man to man. What happens? Eddie Kingston runs into the ring, but Miro eventually retreats. Then Kingston goes after Miro on the outside, but then on the outside, he goes after Miro, but Miro proceeds to get the advantage. And after that, Miro is about to stomp Kingston, but Kingston counters into a DDT on Miro. Of course, they're playing this as the DDT being Miro's kryptonite, as Eddie Kingston would state, his weak point. And I do believe that Miro versus Eddie Kingston is going to be a tremendous match happening tomorrow night on pay-per-view. It's going to be a really awesome match to see. Of course, Miro is going to be going over regardless. I do not see Eddie Kingston winning the title anytime soon, but I do believe they're both going to be working a really, really good match. Eddie Kingston is a master on the microphone, and he's also a master of the ring. I do believe he's definitely going to get a really good match with Miro for the TNT Championship tomorrow night. We got one match that I really wasn't invested in, to be honest. I will say I really wasn't as invested as I should have been. It's the 2-on-1 handicap match, of course, with Rebel, a.k.a. Reba, whatever you want to call her, and Jamie Hayder versus Kris Statlander. Of course, Kris Statlander is going to be facing Britt Baker tomorrow night for the AEW Women's World Championship. I do not see Kris Statlander winning, as I stated in my predictions video. I do not see her winning the title at all. I see Britt Baker retaining that title and eventually feuding with Thunder Rosa, because Lord knows, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, that is the money match for the women's title, in my opinion, because they absolutely killed it in that Lights Out match a couple months ago on Dynamite. And I'm sure as hell going to believe that. I definitely do believe that they're absolutely going to kill it on pay-per-view, in my opinion. But what are my thoughts on this 2-on-1 handicap match? I thought this match was not the best. Now, granted, Kris Statlander looked absolutely great in this match. Of course, she did do some really good spots in the match. But again, it was one of those matches that I really wasn't as invested in as I should have been. But that is just me. Maybe you think differently. But I thought that this match was not really the best. But let's get on with the match. Of course, Jamie Hayder. This is a 2-on-1 handicap match, so Rebel and Jamie Hayder are the ones going up against Kris Statlander. Kris Statlander, of course, has no partners in this match. Hayder and Statlander start, both lock up. Hayder pushes Statlander, both lock up again. Works on Statlander in the corner after that. Rebel tags in, proceeds to slam Statlander. We got a cover and a near fall. Then Rebel hits a back kick, and then, get this, she goes for the yes kicks. Yes, they looked like yes kicks, I will say. They absolutely looked like yes kicks. Bryan Danielson is showing up tomorrow night, whether you like it or not. It's happening, guys. It's happening. Deal with it. I'm excited. I know you are. She does those yes kicks. I thought they looked exactly like the yes kicks. I will say that. But we get a power slam by Statlander. We get a side slam by Statlander on Hayder on the top of Rebel. That was one of the highlights. We get a shot on each corner on Rebel and Hayder from each corner of the ring. Then we get a sliding kick and a senton on both Hayder and Rebel. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Hayder gets taken out on the outside. We get a splash in the corner by Rebel. Rebel's on the top of Statlander, but then Statlander catches Hayder and drops both of them at the same time. We get a roll up by Hayder, and then we get a kick to the face of Rebel. Statlander then with a submission that I haven't seen before, and probably you, the viewer, haven't seen before. It's a really weird submission. Rebel then taps out and wins the match. Overall thoughts on this match, again, this was a match that I really wasn't as invested in as I should have been, but I will say Kris Statlander looked great in the match, and I do think she's going to work a really good match with Britt Baker tomorrow night at All Out. But then after the match, what happens? Basically, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayder, and Rebel surround Kris Statlander. Then Red Velvet comes in for the save, and basically that ended, and they all retreat. So, that was the match. Again, not the best match in the world, but I do believe Kris Statlander and Britt Baker are absolutely going to kill it tomorrow night. Mark Henry, of course, does his weekly interviews before the main event on Rampage with Sting and Darby Allin and 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. Of course, Daniel Garcia and 2.0 do cut their typical heelish promos, and then Darby Allin says that he's going to beat Daniel Garcia, all that stuff, typical stuff. Now, one thing I will say, I do believe that Mark Henry, it fits much better in the backstage role rather than the commentary role, because Rampage has a 4-man booth on commentary. It's better off with 3 in my view. I think Mark Henry should fit best in a backstage role. Maybe he'll improve in the near future, and if he does, I'll say, keep him there. But I do believe every time when Mark Henry says it's time for the main event, I guarantee you in a couple months that's going to get over with the crowd. Just like, I believe his name is Greg Hamilton, the ring announcer in the WWE, of course, when he says the following contest is scheduled for 1 fall, and then the crowd states 1 fall. I think this is going to be going over as well when it comes to it's time for the main event. That's just my opinion, but I have that gut feeling that that's going to go over in the next couple months. But the main event, of course, is Darby Allin versus Daniel Garcia with CM Punk on commentary. Of course, Darby Allin is going to be facing CM Punk in CM Punk's very first match in 7 years. If you guys did not watch the countdown show for All Out right after Rampage, it was a 30-minute special that aired on TNT. If you watch the CM Punk interview, you really like. It just gets you hyped for the pay-per-view. I don't know about you guys. If you guys haven't checked out the interview that CM Punk had, I do believe it's on YouTube. Check it out, because it's really interesting. I believe in one of the now he did talk about this in the countdown show, but I saw it on Twitter. He was talking about Eddie Guerrero, and give that, like, literally just kill like 2 minutes. Just watch that clip of CM Punk just talking about Eddie Guerrero and him having a match. That match ending in a no contest, and of course him putting the Intercontinental title on the line against CM Punk way early on in his career. I think it was in 2002. But check it out. It's a really, really interesting interview with Jim Ross and CM Punk. Absolutely check it out. I think it will get you extremely hyped for the pay-per-view. But we got Darby Allin versus Daniel Garcia. Of course, CM Punk is on commentary. It is awesome seeing Chris Jericho and CM Punk in the same announce table, and them sitting next to each other, because, of course, they did wrestle at WrestleMania 28 in a fantastic match. I remember that match. It was a really good match, and the build-up was really good in my opinion. But it's awesome to see them on commentary. CM Punk was really entertaining on commentary, by the way. He didn't have a lot of scripts. If you compare a wrestler going on commentary in AEW and a wrestler going on commentary in the WWE, you can very well see the difference. CM Punk on commentary, exactly. He's just talking from the heart and feels extremely genuine. If you watch a WWE program and you have a wrestler go on commentary, honestly, it does not feel genuine at all, and they feel absolutely scripted like crazy. And you can definitely see the difference. But CM Punk on commentary was phenomenal. But let's get in the match. Of course, both Darby Allin and Daniel Garcia lock up. We get a slap. We get a couple of slaps by both Darby and Garcia. We get repeated rights by Darby. Darby tries to run into a coffin drop, but Garcia escapes. So he basically runs in onto the Timekeeper's area, which Darby Allin don't give a shit about what his body goes through. That is crazy. Darby Allin is insane. But Sting takes out 2.0 after that. Garcia sends Darby to the steel steps. Both are back in the ring. We got a couple of reversals by Darby. Darby then applies an arm bar. Then Darby takes the arm of Garcia onto the steel steps. Garcia tries to apply the Romero special. Then he is choking him with the chain on Darby. Darby gets back. He goes to the top. Garcia also goes to the top. We get a beautiful superplex by Garcia in which Darby Allin sold that like $1 million. I stated this on Twitter. This dude sold it like $1 million. The way Darby Allin just flew off from that superplex off the top rope. Holy shit. Darby Allin is crazy. But he sold that like crazy. Darby Allin sold that superplex like $1 million, as I stated before. But Garcia during the commercial break, of course, works on Darby. Once we're back from break, Darby runs into Garcia into the corner with a full Nelson. We get a couple of back elbows by Darby Allin. We get a rear naked choke by Garcia. Garcia goes to the top while Garcia has the rear naked choke applied. Then hits the coffin drop while Garcia has the rear naked choke applied. Darby Allin somehow goes to the top rope and eventually hits the coffin drop, which that did not look good for Garcia because I could tell that was extremely painful. He hits the coffin drop on the top. Darby fights off Garcia. Garcia with a couple of chops. We get a Pepsi twist by Darby Allin, of course, an old maneuver by CM Punk. Garcia with an uppercut. Then Darby with the backslide, but we get a near fall after that. Then we get a code red by Darby. I keep calling it the Canadian Destroyer, but they call it the code red. Then it looked like Darby tried to apply the sharpshooter, but then it was an alternate pin attempt. It looked like he was going to go for the sharpshooter, but he didn't do. It was a alternate pin attempt. Then Darby wins the match. Darby beats Daniel Garcia in a fantastic main event to end Rampage. But after the match, what happens? 2.0 proceed to attack Darby. Sting enters the fray. Then 2.0 gets the advantage. But then Darby, what happens? CM Punk comes out. Comes in for the save. He faces off with, I believe it was Daniel Garcia or 2.0. But what happens is Darby eventually hits the suicide dive on all of them. And then just faces off against CM Punk and the show ends. What are my thoughts on this? I thought this was a really good way to close off Rampage because it gets you hyped for what's going to be happening this Sunday or tomorrow night, I should say, at All Out. I do believe the match is going to be amazing. A lot of people are saying, and I've stated earlier in my Dynamite reviews, that a lot of people were saying that CM Punk hasn't missed a step ever since leaving wrestling 7 years ago. And you know what? That's great. If that is the case, I'm excited to see what happens. CM Punk hasn't been wrestling for a long-ass time, and we're all going to be witnessing it tomorrow night on pay-per-view. I'm definitely excited about it. I know you are. Rampage, overall thoughts on Rampage. I thought this was a really, really good show. CM Punk on commentary was awesome. Malakai Black looked great. He looked amazing. His entrance and the way the match with Lee Johnson was booked, amazing. The handicap match was not the best in my opinion. I really wasn't. I was not really, again, invested in the match, but hey, it did its job, of course. But the Mark Henry interviews, I do believe that Mark Henry is definitely going to get over with his main event line. But yeah, that was Rampage from September 3rd, 2021. Of course, the go-home show for AEW Rampage. Yeah, that was Rampage. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Also, be on the lookout for my SmackDown review because I'm going to be uploading my SmackDown review right after this Rampage review. And also be on the lookout for my All Out review, which I'm going to be uploading on Monday. So be on the lookout for those reviews. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast. Signing out.